And now,
it's 10 a.m.
Let's just get down to it.
And it's time for your sports fix.
Strap yourselves in, folks.
From two guys who have covered the teams you're passionate about for years.
We are professionals.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone. Jake Scott, Ben Anderson, thank you for making us a part of your day. We're talking about unpleasant coaches and their unpleasant behavior, and
some off the mic.
David was talking about one in particular and said he always had a good experience with him. I knew somebody fairly well that was on that coach's staff. Very different opinion. Very, very different opinion. But anyway, it just made me think about our conversation about who are we talking about, the crazy behavior. Oh, Chris Matthews flipping out about the hammer.
Lawrence O'Donnell.
Oh, it was Lawrence. Yeah, Larry O'Donnell flipping out about the hammer, whether
Stop the hammering.
there was something that led to that crazy behavior or if they were that crazy all along. And I said, it's a little bit of both, but I think it's mainly they're that crazy all along, but they're enabled once they get to a certain level. That is 1,000% true in coaching.
Yeah, there's a very obvious through line in coaches, even from your hardest of hardo to the softest of hearts. There's just a thing there. There's a common thread, an opinion or feeling with all of them. But then, yes, some of them get that spotlight or the money or the power or they're at the podium and they're just like, this is it. It's time to be horrible or whatever. Expand what I am.
Like Bob Knight and Coach K coached together at some point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was it at Army? I don't know, Ben. You can swiftly Google the history of it. It was at Army. They were together at some point.
And I guess he was an assistant at Indiana too.
And he always had good things to say about Bob Knight, right? I'm sure Bob Knight at Army was not Bob Knight at the end of Indiana, yet he was. He just couldn't get away with that sort of thing given his position. So I'm sure the Bob Knight that Coach K was familiar with.
Yeah. By the way, Coach K was playing at that point. At West Point.
Was probably way different.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
But, you get to win a national championship and you become a legend at Indiana and you can do whatever you want.
But you know what? I like the opposite. I like the coach that softens. I like the coach that...
That's Coach Witt.
That's Coach Witt. That's Jerry Sloan.
And Coach Witt never, by the way, real quick to clarify, Coach Witt never had any of that crazy behavior that I'm aware of.
No, I haven't heard that either.
Yeah, I had not.
Guys who we know who played for him early in his career.
No Larry O'Donnell, so don't equate that. But he kind of a stern dude. And I don't know, PK will tell you grandkids had a lot to do with it or, I don't know what it is. But yeah, he is definitely a less of a intense person. I'm trying to accurately portray it.
Ironically, Witt is the person who loves the background hammering more than anyone in the world.
Oh, with
right?
the lawnmower.
He
and
loves doing an interview in front of a plane engine.
Whatever.
Start the hammering.
Yes, please. Someone start the hammering. We got to ruin these guys' tape. But yeah, he went a different direction. I'm with you. I like that a little bit, a little bit better.
Anyways, who's in there? Who's bugging you?
The boss.
Let me kick him out. Who? Lloyd?
Oh, Lloyd.
Or the actual boss?
Like that?
Lloyd, we have to play a silly bit now.
Yeah, Lloyd, we're doing whole things now. You're talking Christian's ear off.
I distracted myself.
What's going on?
It's not Lloyd's fault.
Because I can't see him. You could easily just be lying that there's somebody over there in that corner because nobody can see him. You might have just had your feet up on the desk.
Yeah, it was Lloyd. Although
Lloyd's back here.
You wouldn't throw the boss under the bus.
Which boss?
Lloyd. You would throw Hatch under the bus if he were just making it up.
Is Hatch the boss?
No, Lloyd is. That's what I'm saying. If he were just making it up, you wouldn't throw Lloyd under the bus. Not if he's smart.
Yeah. All right.
Did I miss a like that?
You did.
You missed several hammerings, several like that's. Yeah. Yeah.
Stop the hammering.
Hopefully you guys didn't swear.
Ben did twice.
Twice. Bad ones.
We were hitting motioning, dump that, and you totally missed that. So HR is on the phone.
This will be my last day.
Got some FCC compliance
Beth has already
issues.
reached out.
That's nice.
Yeah, at least Beth's nice. She'll fire me softly.
Do you think the BYU coaching staff listens to the show? I mean, obviously they do.
Yeah.
Because they've got nothing better going on from 10 to noon, so might as well pop on the show.
Yep.
But all of a sudden, a different quarterback got the majority of the reps at BYU yesterday. Hillstead gets the majority with the first team. Are they balancing it out, Ben? Because I was really eager to read into it when they said they gave it to the Bear. Are they just doing this so I feel like a crazy person?
I had said, and look, A-Rod said, Bear got the majority of the reps. He said that too. And I kind of said, yeah, that's at least what the media saw. And I know that A-Rod said that was what they did, but it's lying season. He should be lying. Yeah, put the guy who hasn't played all practice out for the media and let him play 25 minutes. Everyone would be like, it's Bear's job. So if you're going to throw that out there, I'm not going to necessarily dismiss what A-Rod's saying, but I'm going to take it with a grain of salt, knowing that you only see a very small portion of practice.
Okay, but let me ask you this. Do you think that A-Rod is, God, what would the mental condition be where you lie for lying's sake? That you just are, like maybe in Arrested Development. Like you just can't help yourself. No reason, you just lie to people.
Yeah.
Pathological liar, is that what that would be, I guess?
No, I would call it strategic. He's a strategic liar.
Okay, but that's what I'm getting at. What would be the point of lying about that? Or what would be the point of manipulating I'm not saying it's not happening. I'm just asking what would be the point of manipulating the media observation and stating an incorrect thing in the postgame about who got the majority of the reps? What would the goal be?
BYU is beginning their dead period right now. Did they take a little practice in the middle, or a little break in the middle of fall camp, and then they'll get back to it a couple days, right? They usually take a little break. I think that's where BYU is now. And generally you come back, you start preparing for your first team. And everyone starts preparing for your first team. So your last two practices, knowing that even if it's just Portland State, who's going to have to start preparing for you on this back end now, they look at the last two practices and they got two different starters. Well, so, yeah, if you're going to say, what was it, Tuesday's practice it was Bear, and Wednesday's practice it was McCae, and then you take a mini break now, you come back, Portland State says, well, we got to start prepping. You don't have any lean one way or another.
Well, heaven forbid you don't wrong foot Portland State.
Well, here's the thing. As we were just talking about 5 minutes ago, coaches are insane people. There is a level of insanity that goes to every coach that knows Michigan can lose to App State, we can lose to Portland State, we got to be careful.
I think it's a balance out, and maybe it's saying, hey, don't read into anything. Hey, the radio bozos of the world, stop reading into anything. But that's not lying, I guess is my point. And I don't think they're lying.
No, and I'm guessing they haven't picked anybody yet.
I do not think he's a pathological liar, but that they haven't picked anybody yet is probably what to read into it, I would guess.
And then why would you have one play in front of the media and one not? Or if there was even media availability yesterday, why have McCae one day and Bear the other in front of the media? Like, that stuff's not that accidental. They know how to schedule practice. They have this down to a science.
Now, Lloyd is a pathological liar.
Correct.
He lies just for...
It's rubbing off on Christian. It's like why Christian's lying about who he's talking to.
Right. It's like sports.
He's taking Thursday off.
So, I don't know. Saying it wasn't a good sign for Hillstead that Bear was getting the majority actually still is probably true, because Hillstead should have grabbed this job. He had the advantages. He should be in the lead.
I'm much more lukewarm on that opinion than you are. I get why you would say it. Again, I just have not seen superstar McCae Hillstead even when he was on the field. If Bear's a better player, he can be a better player as a true freshman. Absolutely. I get this is McCae's third year. We talked about it. He's got 8 starts in his career. He went 3-5. He lost to James Madison. He lost to San Jose State. He beat San Diego State. I believe it was San Diego State. Forgive me that resume is not good enough by itself to be the starter at BYU.
It is not. But being an incumbent is a thing, and he's the incumbent for all intents and purposes.
There are 150 incumbents in college football who aren't good enough to start at BYU.
Don't let the name fool you, Ben. The Bear started shaving yesterday.
Yeah, I get it.
He was at prom last spring.
I get it.
Or whatever. When did he? I guess he graduated early, right? So maybe he didn't go to prom. He was at the winter formal.
Warp.
Last winter.
Yeah.
No, I made a joke that UConn is still better than, I don't even remember the high school I made up. Chino Hills Prep Academy. It's 1,000% true. College football and high school football are not on the same planet.
Totally agree with you.
Talk to Hans about that. I mean, it's just impossible for nearly anybody to step right in and play as a freshman. And if they do play, you have to plan on it not going well. So if you've got a safer pick, there's a reason that true freshmen don't start.
Yeah, but like Luke Batari should be starting then. It's just like, and he wasn't. And look, Isaac Wilson is not a good example of, start the freshman over Luke Batari.
Luke Batari was a walk-on. We are not talking about walk-ons here.
Okay.
We are talking about
talking about
scholarship.
McCae Hillstead,
We're talking about scholarship players. He is a good enough quarterback for Utah State to not only have given him a scholarship, but really tried to keep him when BYU was recruiting him to come take a scholarship.
As a backup.
But what? No, what was he, a redshirt freshman at that point? It was to come in and grow with the program, I would guess.
You would hope so.
But you're not giving a scholarship to somebody that you don't think has any potential. Isaac Wilson probably didn't get the number 2 quarterback at Utah last year because he was actually better than Luke Batari. But he was the guy with the potential. He was the guy that you had to give a scholarship. Utah State could have had Luke Batari what did I say? Anyway, last year, but they didn't.
Sure.
They passed on him. And so did all of the Mountain West, and so did all of the 2 Pac-12 teams. Everybody did. Hillstead is good enough that he was in demand for scholarships from programs. Mm-hmm. Different situation entirely. And by the way, how did true freshman potential Isaac Wilson do last year?
Extraordinarily poorly.
Yeah. If Bryson Barnes would have still been on the team, they would have picked Bryson Barnes, who probably is a much more apt comparison to McCae Hillstead than Luke Batari.
Okay.
And
I don't know if you're making the point you think you're making.
And by the way, Bryson has won a ton of games because he's a safe player.
He is.
And he can make a couple plays with his legs. He's not slinging it all over the field. But you know what he doesn't do? Lose you games. You know who does lose you games? Freshmen.
Maybe.
So they don't want to pick the freshman. They want him to be awesome. Don't get me wrong. But they don't. I don't know. Like I said, unless you've got an Alex Smith on your hands where all of a sudden he's an All-American right out of the gate, which the likelihood of that is low. The only players that have ever done that are like Johnny Manziel.
But I just don't buy that you played a year not particularly well all of a sudden means you're the guy. And I get why it would give you an advantage. I'm not disagreeing that should give McCae Hillstead an advantage over Bear Bachmeier. It doesn't make him a good player.
It does not.
It does not.
No,
and so I don't care.
It does not.
Particularly. I'm ready to flush that. And that doesn't mean McCae Hillstead won't be a good player this year. I'm just saying based purely on his resume versus a true freshman coming in, I could not care less. I just couldn't. It's not enough there for me, both watching him actually play and just looking at his numbers to think like, well, yeah, that's got to be the guy. Nothing about what he's done would say that to me. 2
years out of high school, or is it 3 for Hillstead? Or he wasn't a mission guy, right? Oh, I always get confused. He was not, right? Just being multiple years out of high school should give him a huge advantage. It should. Because he's been practicing and he's been playing against adults for all of that time. He understands how fast corners are. In theory, he can read where the safety is, means the ball needs to go here, let alone digesting A-Rod's War and Peace-like playbook that we've heard so much about. At least he's had multiple years a head start. My point is he should be the safer pick. And that's what they want. They want a safer pick.
Are we sure?
Yes.
Why?
Because they have a really good team.
I wonder, though, if you say that the safe pick ceiling is not what BYU is trying to be. If the safe pick is 8-4, you're not competing for a Big 12 title, and that's why everyone came back this year to compete for a Big 12 title. So if you have to go bigger swing, I would absolutely understand if BYU thought the potential was higher with Bear, they're going to go for that. And I think that's probably the right move. If you have this team, if you think this is Jay Hill's last year, which very well may be, may not, who knows? We've seen this a lot. We've had a lot of coaches speculate that, next year they're going to leave or next year they're going to leave. We did this with Kalani forever at Utah. It took a long time for him to actually bounce, and he didn't leave for a head coaching job. So if, though, you think that this might be the last year that you have this core together, and knowing that some of these guys are going to the NFL next year, and you may lose a Jay Hill, you should go high upside. And if McCae Hillstead, has capped at that, and we don't know, he played yesterday, he got the majority of the reps. We don't know that. I'm just saying, with the information we have so far to date, I just don't think it's spectacular enough to feel like, yeah, he's got to be the guy.
I honestly, let me say this. I don't know. I'm not advocating for one or the other. I'm just saying that I think that this was Hillstead's job to lose, and I read more into it about Hillstead than I do about the Bear.
Now that I totally agree with that, and that's maybe a feather in the cap for Bear is that if Hillstead hasn't jumped out and earned this, obviously that's not a great sign.
My argument is he should have taken this job. He had every advantage to take this job and should have done that. I don't think it's because the Bears been magic why it's still 50-50. I would guess. I mean, maybe Mitch, has a different perspective or would talk to different people. I would welcome any further info on that.
But you haven't heard that, right?
No.
You've not heard it from all the observations of the people who have been down there. No one has been like, yeah, this is clearly going to be Bear.
Retzloff had all the advantages last year. All of the advantages. And by a week left to go in camp, we knew exactly who was starting. And he even fended off an experienced transfer that came in with actual college football. And he had the advantage because he'd been here and he played some games and he understood what the coaching staff wanted. And he took the job and never gave it back. I'm not saying the quarterback race is in a much worse situation this year than it was last year, obviously. But Hillstead had the advantage over his competitor.
I'm going to pull up McCae Hillstead real quick here. I want to see what offers he had because I do believe this. We get caught up in stars and however silly stars are for players. I want to see what his recruiting profile looked like. And because it may be better than I was thinking, we got to remember, okay, so he had offers to Utah State, FIU, and Washington State. Bear Bachmeier had offers to Stanford, Alabama, Arkansas, Boise State, BYU, Colorado, FAU, Georgia, Kansas, Miami, Michigan, Notre Dame, Oregon, Oregon State, Purdue, Utah, Wazoo. It's like 2 years ago, these players wouldn't have even been close to one another, right?
But
McCae Hillstead was no one is knocking on. Alabama was not knocking on his door. Michigan was not knocking on his door.
But that's 2 years.
It is. It's a difference. And look, there are a lot of guys who get offers to schools that are terrible players.
Alex Smith had one offer. And it was to Utah State to play for his uncle. And his uncle left to take the Michigan State job. And I believe his legend has it. We could ask Mac about this. I probably have. But John L. called back, said, take my nephew. It's pretty good, I promise.
Yeah.
In 2 years, he was winning the conference. So, I don't know. Would Alex Smith in his second year out of high school been better than the best freshman that year in 2003? Probably.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
A lot better.
He was great.
So, I don't know. What do the clowns in the recruiting services actually know? Now, you're talking about scholarship offers.
Which ideally coaches should know a little better, not that much better. We've seen a lot of quarterbacks come and go that never play and aren't any good.
But see, even recruiting stuff is so flawed. Talk to our buddy Gunther, who the day he got an offer from Colorado State is the day he got an offer from the rest of the Mountain West Conference.
Yeah. Right.
The rest of whom probably had never seen him play. But they were like, oh, well, if the Rams think he's good enough to play, we better get on this thing. Even it's just like, is a USC offer a 5-star because they're a 5-star and USC's offering them? Or are they a 5-star because USC's offering them?
Right.
It's just all flawed. But anyway, the point being is that when you get into camp, it should all be equal. And things like experience and practice and familiarity with the system actually matter. And I think it would be a shame if BYU did not win.
Well, hold on. Why would it be equal if that stuff matters? Right? If once you're on campus, it's all equal. Shouldn't everything go out the door? Your previous, your history, your stars, etc.
No. You don't get me wrong. You should perform better because of those things.
Okay.
You should be
performing. You're not
performing.
packing that into why you would pick them.
No, as
itself.
As the Bears wondering why he just threw a pick six to the defensive end.
He's quick.
You should be operating the offense.
Yeah.
And again, maybe not like Steve Young, but not throwing interceptions to the defensive end.
I agree with you.
That should be not resume like I'm going to be biased toward this person because he's been here, but because he should be better. If Christian hosted a show with somebody who had never done radio before on day one, and just using experienced Saturday show host Christian Esparza as an example, he should be way better at the job than that guy.
He should.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, of course.
That's all I'm saying. But potential, this isn't really a potential season for BYU.
No, I
don't
totally...
think. This is not really well, let's kick the tires on the frosh. They're not built that way.
I might disagree with you on that. I just don't. If you don't have the right quarterback this year, I think you're just going to hamstring yourself.
But what if you don't have the right quarterback?
Yeah, you just may not.
Point.
Again, we may be back to avocados. You may just be picking between two bad avocados. You may not be able to make guacamole. It just might not be there.
And I'm going to pick the avocado that's not going to throw an interception in the defensive end.
One hell of an avocado. He's throwing a football. I get it. I'm not convinced that McCae Hillstead won't make that same mistake. He did when we saw him.
Well, yeah. I mean, you hope that's what you put behind you with experience. That's the point.
You would hope.
That's the point.
You would hope. But last time we saw him, that was not the case.
All right, stay tuned. Top 3 stories of the day at KSLSports.com coming up next. Jacob Mann, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.